So the reason why, and this is the irony of it, the reason why the Sahel Alliance even exists is because of us, Africans. We played ball with the West and sanctioned our brothers and sisters and forced them into defending themselves. So the Sahel Alliance was a direct response to sanctions by ECOWAS on Niger. Everybody's very excited about the fact that the Sahel Alliance has been signed. Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger have made it official that they now have their own pact, their own bloc in West Africa, in the Sahel region, and that they are not going back to ECOWAS. But I believe that the key to success of the Sahel Alliance lies with Russia and China. Now, people will look at me and say, what are you talking about, Merc? Are you talking crazy? Those people who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. But that's what this video is about, because I'm going to break down for you, in my humble opinion, because I'm just a humble man. I'm just going to give you my thoughts on why the success and survival of the Sahel Alliance lies with those two countries and the relationships that Africa, aka those countries that are in the Sahel Alliance, has with them. In a future video, I'm going to talk about ECOWAS as well, so make sure that you're subscribed for when I talk about whether they can survive without ECOWAS. That's a separate conversation, but let's talk about Russia and China. So for those people who don't know, all the coups that happened in the Sahel, Mali, Guinea, Burkina Faso, Niger, all had coups in the last 2 years or so. Burkina Faso had 2 coups. Brought in Captain Traoré is in there. We've talked about Captain Traoré, Tiani, General Tiani, and Assimi Goïta of Mali. This is the thing. Strategically, when they did this, they knew that there was going to be trouble. They knew. They said that, look, we're going to go forward and we're going to make this move, but we're going to get hit hard. We're going to get attacked. And the way that the attacks usually come is in the form of sanctions and so forth. And of course, the sanctions came, they got hit with the sanctions and so on and so forth. But the sanctions hit them particularly hard because they did not have any allies within the African nations in that region because of ECOWAS, which I will talk about in a separate video, as I said. So when they got themselves into that position, they had to look for options. Options for resources, well, not even resources, just support, because they have resources. But the problem is that you've been relying on the West to refine your products, to use their money. You're using the CFA franc, which isn't even your own money. You're using dollars. You don't have an economy that is self-sufficient, that allows you to just exist on your own. In comes Russia with Vladimir Putin. He starts doing deals with all of these nations. And because he's doing deals with all those nations is the reason why they were able to survive during the sanctions. Now, while they're surviving during these things, it allows them to have breathing room where they can now start making decisions. So when it happened to Niger, and I think it was Bazoum, who everybody loved in France and everything because he was helping them take things. The Niger guy, Tiani, was like, no, we're not going to bend for you. You can do your sanctions. Nigeria even cut off power to Niger. We took part in all of that. But Niger started doing deals with Russia. And they survived with the support of Burkina Faso and Mali. That's the reason why it exists. They were like, listen, we've got to band together. And because we know that they're going to keep attacking us, let us pool our resources. Because it's not just military. So it's yes, they're militarily going to defend each other. But it's also economic and strategic, that we will combine our intelligence, resources, we'll support you if you need food, you need water, and we have more, we can get all of those sort of things, the kind of things that all Africa should be doing, and definitely all of West Africa. Well, that's what ECOWAS is allegedly for, but we'll talk about ECOWAS separately. So they create the Sahel Alliance, and people start laughing. And you can tell when people are laughing, but they're not really laughing, because you could see the tone of the reports. And this is something you have to pay attention to. When you Google, and I've said this to people, when you Google the youngest president in Africa, you don't get Ibrahim Traoré, Captain Traoré of Burkina Faso. You don't get that. Try and Google it and see who, if you type in youngest president in Africa, go and see what you see. You will get a man called Bassirou Diomaye Faye of Senegal at 44 years of age. Captain Traoré is 36, 8 years younger than him. Do you know the reason why? Because he's not considered a legitimate president. That's why you don't find that. Isn't that strange? Because then you start thinking that who controls the narrative of Google? Who controls the narrative in search engines? That on a search engine, we cannot see this man named as a president or as the youngest because he's not recognized as a president. By who? That is President Traore. He's the president of the country, but you don't recognize him. Now, as I said, you start thinking about, okay, who controls search engines? Why is it that you're able to decide what people are called and not called? Where is the central office for that? So Diomaye Faye is anointed. He's allowed to be a president. And because you acknowledge the way he got in, Big Mommy and Daddy has allowed that one. So therefore, he is the one that takes on the mantle as the youngest president in Africa. And but Traore isn't. Plus, they don't even call Traore's thing a administration. They call it a junta. A junta. Let me explain something to you guys. The difference between revolution and coup is a point of view. Take that to the bank. It's a point of view. It's a perspective. These people had revolutions in their countries. It wasn't a coup. It's a revolution. Because when you see the conditions that these guys were suffering under, something had to happen. They're just supposed to just sit there and allow themselves to get terrorized by it. And that's another thing that, again, I think I'll make a separate video on that too. Where did these terrorists even come from? Where did they come from? We'll talk about that separately. Make sure you're subscribed. You see, I looked at this and I said, hang on a second. You don't call these people an administration. You don't acknowledge them as presidents. So you're setting them up to be the next Gaddafis. That's basically what you're setting these people up for. That is the reason why when Niger made the chess move, this was a fantastic move. And they said, Russia, come. We want Russian troops on ground in Niger. This is where I'm trying to explain to you why Russia is important. You see, what is going on is that they're trying to demonize these countries, which will make it easier to do regime change on them and support insurrections within their country and call it a fight for democracy, where we are supporting the people who want freedom. That's what is being set up for. If you have Russian troops on the ground in Niger, America can't do that. France can't do it. You want to go and start taking out and shooting Russian troops? If Russia is on the ground and they say that everything is fine here, there's no problem, who are you to say that there's an issue? That's the thing, because Niger cannot defend itself against France, England, and the United States in terms of propaganda. They can't, but they can if they've got Russia in there, let alone if they've got China. If you've got China building things in your country and doing work with you and Russian troops are there, are these people going to come and attack the country with those people over there? It's going to be very, very hard politically and diplomatically to do that. That's why it was a power move. And that is the reason why General Tiani puts those Russian troops in the same barracks as the US troops. He's not a fool. He was antagonizing them. He said that we're going to make things very, very uncomfortable for you here. We've asked you to leave. But if you have any funny ideas of dragging your feet or doing, we're going to put the Russians right in the same base as you. That's what he did. And they're gone now. Burkina Faso kicked the French out long time. Last year. Mali did the same thing. Guinea, I believe, Chad did the same thing. Or are talking about it. So when you look at that, you're saying that, oh my goodness, okay, you're out now. Russia, what role are you now going to play in this thing? For the Sahel Alliance to work, you need a partner with enough clout and power that the intimidation tactics of the West won't work. That's why. That's the strategy. It's the only way. You will not survive otherwise. Do you know the reason why you won't survive? Because you can't trust your brothers and sisters. You're going to trust Nigeria, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Sierra Leone, Togo? Togo? Have you seen what the president in Togo is doing? You can't trust any of these guys. Nobody's going to have your back. Isn't it sad? As Africans, I'm asking everybody who's watching this, isn't it sad that it takes a man from Russia, Vladimir, to come and support people in Africa when the people around them won't support them? That is what is wrong with us as a community. It takes a Chinese man to come and support you. Your people around you won't support you. They are listening to what France and England and USA tell them to do. We'll talk about ECOWAS soon. That's where we are at in the country, in the continent. That's where we're at. So when I say what I'm saying, I'm not talking rubbish. I'm not talking rubbish. Without Russia, Sahel Alliance can survive. And Burkina Faso knows that. That's the reason why, if you go and watch the video that I have on my channel where Captain Traore went and said that Russia is family, you think he's just talking for talking's sake? It's politics. He wants them to feel like we are your allies and we know you are allies. He knows what he's doing. It's like he knows that I need you guys more than you need us because those guys are coming for us. But with your protection, we'll be able to survive, or we at least have a chance. We at least have a chance. That's the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying. And as for China, the way that this functions is about infrastructure. You're working on a two-pronged attack here. What Russia is going to do for you is that they're going to give you military support. They're going to help you with power, nuclear power, machinery, and logistics. That's what they're good at, and that's what they're going to give you. And for people who don't know the history, that is what Russia has been doing for decades in Africa. They've been supporting many, many anti-imperialist, anti-apartheid regimes, anti-apartheid fights rather, for decades in South Africa, Angola, all over the place they've been doing it. So people just aren't aware because Russia doesn't control the mainstream media, so they're not able to put out that propaganda of how much they've helped Africa. But they have, which is the irony, because people say, oh, Russia, be afraid of Russia. I'm like, read your history of the facts. Those Russians have been consistent in helping Africa fight neocolonialism and imperialism and white supremacy in Africa. Don't get confused about that. Do not confuse Russia with Ukraine. That's a whole different concept with those guys, because we know about what's going on in Ukraine. When it comes to Russia, this is just the reality. So yes, we can talk here, talk there, talk left, but just read your history books. I've written an article about it in my newsletter, about the history of Russia in Africa with South Africa, Angola, and all of these things. Go and read the article. That's why I tell people that you've got to be signed up, because you're missing the information. I'm giving the information, but you've got to be signed up. So for that, you take care of that. But the other side of the fence is that you've got China who come in. China build things. That's what they do. They build things. People have said, oh, but they're buying up your country. They're going to own Africa. They're going to own this. They're going to own that. I'm like, guys, nobody gives anything for nothing. They don't. And the position that you're in, you're not in a very good position to actually start bargaining too much when your neck is on the chopping block because of what the West and folks are trying to do to you through debts. We just talked about what happened with the Nigerian debt situation and the loan that they just took from the World Bank again, and how that is going to translate into a economy destroying, crippling, finishing, obliterating debt in about 5 years' time. Or is it 30 years that the thing is supposed to last for? I can't remember how long it was, but in 10 years it's going to be astronomical with the interest. You need to have strong allies. So for me, it's like, look, at least China is coming and they build infrastructure that you can use. They build railways, roads, hotels, hospitals. The West don't do that. And that's what I explained in my previous videos. They don't build anything for you. They don't maintain any. They don't do any of that. The Chinese will come and build things and maintain it and do that. Now, people have complained about the Chinese racism. It's true. It is real. There is an anti-black situation that happens where you've had stories in Nigeria where they had this shopping mall that they didn't allow black people to go into, and the Nigerians closed it down. Good for them, or good for us. It is going to happen. I'm not going to say that these guys don't do that, but you've got to look at things on the macro level. What are we getting and what are we losing? We're getting a lot more out of them than we're getting out of these other folks. So anybody who comes on my message boards and starts talking that nonsense, it's like, listen, we are not in a position to fend for ourselves yet. Yet. That always has to be the end goal. But at least the position that we're in, we can get better partners. And for the Sahel Alliance, it will only survive with these two countries supporting them. If they don't, you're in big trouble. Because remember that I've talked about BRICS. Make sure you watch my BRICS video. Listen, guys, you need to be across all of my material. I've got the BRICS articles, videos. You need to get yourself up to speed with everything I've got. Be subscribed, get on the newsletter, sign up to that, read all the articles, everything. So that every time you come to watch a video, you're not ignorant. You know what's going on. BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and there's a whole bunch of other countries that have now joined. Those two of the big countries in those things are the two countries I'm talking about, Russia and China. Forming a partnership with guys that are not coming in there just trying to take from you without giving you anything is essential. You've got to be able to sift through the propaganda that is going to be coming your way about, oh, they're going to come and they're going to come and do what that you haven't done. Can you imagine people who are telling you about what Russia and China are going to do to you when they on record have not done anything yet, but you've been screwing us over for 500 years, 600 years, and continue to do so? It is the most mind-boggling thing. If anybody can talk, you can't. So, as I said, and listen, I am not a genius. What I'm saying, the Sahel leaders already know, because you can see the moves that they're making. I'm just explaining it. They already know that they need Russia and China. They know it. That's the reason why they're doing all of these deals with them. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm just explaining to you that, guys, this is it. It's not even a question. Xi Jinping, those two guys, and Vladimir Putin, that's who we've got to do business with, guys. If you enjoyed that video and want to watch or listen to more, consider subscribing to the Alkebulan Newsletter and podcast. Link in my bio.